So let's rank the 7 Naruto characters that use stolen doujutsu. Characters that somehow got their hands on somebody else's powerful eyes and are using their abilities. I am not going to include the EMS, the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, in this equation because when you acquire an EMS, you just get more powerful in your own abilities. You don't acquire the other person's abilities. Sasuke, for example, doesn't get Tsukuyomi when he gets Itachi's eyes implanted on him, so because you don't have access to the other person's abilities, you're not using a quote-unquote stolen doujutsu. The EMS is just making you more powerful. What I want to rank on this list is how good these characters are at using the other person's abilities. So let's start off with number 7. Ao from the Mist Village. A character that gets introduced in the 5 Kage Summit, and we find out he actually has a Byakugan. An eye that he actually keeps concealed behind an eye patch so that people won't know he has it. And that's for a good reason. First, because it's not good for other people to know what kind of jutsus you have access to, and also because the Leaf Village especially will want to take it back if they can. We don't know how Ao acquired the Byakugan, but we know Ao had that jutsu ever since the 3rd Great Ninja War, at least, when he saw Shisui's Mangekyou Sharingan collars. And hiding the Byakugan behind an eye patch won't really affect the jutsu because the Byakugan can see through things, therefore the eye patch is not going to impair your vision when the Byakugan is activated. And to even justify Ao's reasons for using an eye patch, Danzo is very adamant on getting the Byakugan back, so much so that he sends Fu to try and take the eye back from Ao however he can, but Mei arrives and saves Ao in the process. Another protection the Byakugan had are those weird earring seals that Ao wears, and whenever somebody tries to destroy his Byakugan, the seals will react and protect the eye. And that's a missed Ambu hidden jutsu because not even Mei, the Mizukage, can undo those seals, only Ao himself can. Meaning that obviously Ao wants to protect his eye, not just because it's powerful for him and because it's going to be aimed at, the Leaf Village especially is going to try and take it back if they can, but also because it's a great asset to the Mist Village. It is the only Byakugan they have, and because it's such an interesting and powerful foreign doujutsu, they want to keep it for as long as they can. But why is Ao in the last place here? It's not as though he's terrible at using the Byakugan. I know, that's true. He can recognize colors from different types of chakras, so much so that he remembers Shisui's eye color all those years later. He was the one who noticed something was wrong during the 5 Kage Summit and used his Byakugan to find out Danzo was casting Koto Matsukami on Mifune and manipulating everything. But other than that, we just know nothing else about the guy. We have no clue how he even acquired that Byakugan. I mean, it's probably from a dead Hyuga that he killed or somebody else killed for him. I don't really think a Hyuga betrayed the Leaf Village and gave the eye to him. I mean, Danzo kind of implies that when he's talking to Ao, saying that if he knew the Hyuga who was responsible for that, he would execute him. Based! But maybe he was saying responsible in terms of whoever let himself get captured and surrender a Byakugan to Ao in the process. Because there's the thing here. Ao only has one Byakugan, which means either the person that he killed lost one of the Byakugan, or he shared the other Byakugan with somebody else in the Mist Village, or some Hyuga just kinda sold one of their eyes to Ao. Which could make sense for you to make a lot of money. I mean, the Mist Village would certainly want to pay a pretty penny for that Byakugan, but it couldn't have been somebody from the Branch family because the seal on their forehead simply doesn't allow the Byakugan to be stolen. It had to be somebody from the main Hyuga family, which is even worse, I suppose, especially from Danzo's perspective. There's a high-level Hyuga from the main family that's kind of a traitor, regardless of how they lost the Byakugan. And yeah, obviously Ao has the ability to perceive chakra with the Byakugan, to see the chakra networks and everything. He can see far away with the Byakugan as well, see through objects. He has a near 360-degree view, but the main issue with Ao here is that he doesn't really have the other Hyuga abilities that are really good to be used with the Byakugan, aka the Gentle Fist. The Hyugas use the Byakugan to spot the chakra network and the chakra points around the enemy's body to hit them with their Gentle Fist and disable their chakras. Ao can't really do that because he's not a Hyuga, so he's just kind of a glorified sensory type with a Byakugan, I suppose. Which, don't get me wrong, is extremely useful, but it's not gonna make him rank too much higher on this list. Moving on to number 6, Itachi Uchiha. And you may be questioning my decision here, because Itachi never really implants somebody else's eye onto himself, which is true. But he uses somebody else's Sharingan doujutsu. Shisui's, with his crow, with Koto Matsukami, and Shisui's Mangekyou Sharingan. After Shisui got mogged by Danzo and got one of his Mangekyou stolen, he surrendered the other one to Itachi and tossed himself into the river, awakening Itachi's Mangekyou Sharingan in the process. And now Itachi has this powerful Mangekyou Sharingan eye as well with Koto Matsukami, which can be a very powerful ability. Unfortunately for Itachi, he couldn't put it to use during the Uchiha clan coup massacre entire ordeal there. So he kept Shisui's eye and implanted it on a crow. He then literally shoved that crow into Naruto's gullet, commanding the crow to emerge whenever Naruto was in the presence of Itachi's Mangekyou Sharingan, so that the crow would cast Koto Matsukami on it. Itachi originally intended for Koto Matsukami to be cast on Sasuke, because he didn't know exactly what Sasuke was going to do after he quote-unquote killed Itachi and got his revenge. After all, he was suspicious that Tobi would try and convince Sasuke to join the bad side, tell everything to Sasuke, turn him against the Leaf Village, and Itachi also intended to show Sasuke how to acquire the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan during their fight. That's what he does when he casts Tsukuyomi, and shows Sasuke that, well, you just have to kind of pluck out somebody else's eyeball, which he does to Sasuke in the illusion, which is a pretty bad torture, I guess. And so, when Naruto and Sasuke saw each other again, hopefully, when Sasuke had Itachi's eyes, the crow would cast Koto Matsukami on Sasuke and command him to protect the Leaf Village. Extremely manipulative, just controlling Sasuke's actions from the grave, if I may say so, but it didn't work that way, because Naruto got to fight Edo Tensei Itachi before he even saw Sasuke with the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. The crow emerged after Edo Itachi used his Mangekyou Sharingan and cast Koto Matsukami on Edo Itachi, commanding him to protect the Leaf Village, which overpowered the Edo Tensei control that Kabuto had over Itachi and freed him, making Itachi now an ally to the shinobi forces, and the man who was going to go ahead and stop Kabuto on his own volition. Now, this is a very interesting usage of somebody else's power, and Itachi used it in a crow. Obviously, it's an extremely situational jutsu. It's not something Itachi can use every day. He can only use it once every 10 years, so after Itachi gets freed from Edo Tensei, he burns the crow with Amaterasu so nobody can get access to Shisui's Mangekyou there. But it was still a very intelligent plan, and obviously Itachi knew how to implement it, and program Shisui's Mangekyou Sharingan to cast Koto Matsukami under very specific conditions. I'm just leaving it a little bit lower here on the list because Itachi only uses this jutsu once. I mean, he kinda can only use it once anyway, but even though he only used it once, it was extremely impactful in the narrative, and a very hype moment in the story as well when Itachi got freed from Edo Tensei. Moving on to number 5, we have Obito Uchiha. Obito uses the eyes of several people during the series, and for most of them we don't even know who they are. You see, Obito keeps a pretty large stash of Sharingan that he probably got after the Uchiha clan massacre because he was very much involved in it, wiping out the Uchiha police people that obviously would fight against him with their Sharingan activated, and he just, got them afterwards. During most of his masked man career, Obito used somebody else's Sharingan on his left eye as a reserve to use Izanagi if anything happens. And he ended up using that at least 2 times that we know of. First, when Sasuke casts Amaterasu without even realizing on Obito when he was going to show himself to him. Itachi was the one who programmed an Amaterasu to go off when Sasuke sees Obito's Sharingan so that Sasuke wouldn't be influenced by Obito after Itachi's death. And Sasuke actually hits Obito with Amaterasu. Luckily for Obito there, he had Izanagi. He could use it to just survive the jutsu, which is not something most people would be able to do after the Amaterasu flames already on you. And the second time he uses Izanagi with a spare Sharingan is during the fight against Konan, when she uses the ocean of 600 billion paper bombs to go and kill him. But overall, this is the only thing he does with a stolen Sharingan that he has. Very impactful when necessary, yes, but but still, one jutsu. The other eye that he steals later on is going to be Madara's Rinnegan. And honestly, he doesn't do a whole lot with that. The only thing he really does with the Rinnegan there, and to be fair, it's really impactful, is to control the 6 Edo Tensei Jinchuriki to fight against Naruto and Killer Bee. Well, he also summons the Geto Mazo, and uses those chains from the Geto Mazo to seal the Jinchuriki and the Tail Beast whenever they run out of control. So I guess there's more than one thing, but still, he doesn't use the Rinnegan a whole lot. And Kakashi even says, well, it's because we know how to counter the Rinnegan's ability because we fought against pain, so he's not going to try and use that because it would be a waste of chakra. And the Rinnegan abilities just consume a lot of chakra, especially from somebody like Obito, who's not an original Awakener and not an Uzumaki like Nagato. Still, I would even argue that there were situations there in the fights against Naruto, Bee, Kakashi, and Guy that the Rinnegan abilities would have been useful, but I guess he's just not that proficient with them. I mean, there are 6 paths, and he only uses like 1.5. Also, Obito tried to implant both of Madara's Rinnegan eyes, but he just couldn't because the amount of power they unleashed on his body was too great. So he just kept the one and used his regular Mangekyou Sharingan on the other eye to use Kamui and stuff. Still, that solo Rinnegan made Obito extremely powerful when it comes to his physical abilities because, yes, Orange Mask Obito and even Masked Man Obito, the one who fought against Minato, he was very powerful when it came to speed, reaction time, and everything, but War Arc White Mask Obito is just another beast entirely. Which is not necessarily him using the abilities of the Rinnegan, it's just him getting a boost from the Rinnegan, so I guess, yeah, it's fair for me to rank him at number 5. It's more of a passive ability, so it doesn't really count. For number 4, we have Danzo Shimura, the man with the most Sharingan in the Naruto series. Obviously, he has Shisui's right Mangekyou Sharingan, which he implanted on his right eye socket after stomping Shisui completely and stealing his Mangekyou Sharingan. And he also has 10 Sharingan eyes implanted on his right arm, which he also got from the Uchiha clan massacre. Well, at least that's what we infer from what Danzo tells Sasuke during their fights, that Itachi was the one who facilitated Danzo from acquiring all those Sharingan. He is much better at using Koto Matsukami than Itachi was with Shisui's Crow because he can use the jutsu once a day, not once every 10 years. And yes, this may be because of Hashirama cells enhancing his chakra and simple physical capabilities and everything else, allowing him to spam the Mangekyou abilities more often. Then again, probably because Shisui's Mangekyou wasn't a crow, that just probably made the cooldown much higher. It wasn't a person with chakra that could recover the jutsu. I doubt Shisui's Koto Matsukami took 10 years to recharge when Shisui was using it. But it's likely that Danzo is even better at using the jutsu because he has Hashirama cells. He was very unlucky that Ao was present in the 5 Kage Summit. He was the only person who could detect Koto Matsukami there and realize what Danzo was doing because he had seen Shisui's eye collar once upon a time. Otherwise, he would have probably become the supreme leader of the alliance. And even when Koto is on cooldown for Danzo, he still has his other Sharingan, which he uses to spam Izanagi and become immortal for at least 10 minutes. Each Sharingan on his arm makes him immortal for an entire minute. It doesn't matter how many times he gets mortally wounded during that minute, he is going to revive every single time. And with 10 Sharingan, that gives him 10 minutes. It wasn't enough to beat Sasuke, but it's still very impressive. And Danzo's mistake there was not using Koto because he was not on cooldown anymore. He was saving his Koto to deal with quote-unquote Madara Uchiha, which, to be fair, probably a fair shot here. He had to fight against Sasuke, who is this brat to his eyes, and, well, after that I have to deal with Madara, and the only thing I really have to deal with Madara is going to be Koto Matsukami, so let me save it for him. And when Danzo thought about using Koto Matsukami in the fight against Sasuke, when he captured Kari and everything, it was already too late. He was too wounded, he couldn't use Izanagi anymore, it was GG. Still, being able to use Koto once a day, and Izanagi on top of that, a pretty powerful usage of stolen Sharingan and Mangekyou Sharingan, if I may say so. For number 3, we have Madara Uchiha. The first time we see Madara with stolen eyes is in the flashback in the cave with Obito, and he is in his old man form, but he has a Sharingan. A Sharingan he even says he got from somebody else, which we don't know who it was. It was probably some Uchiha who died during the Third Great Ninja War, to be fair. And he had that Sharingan because he had given his original eyes to somebody else. Now, it was only one Sharingan, his other eye was completely empty, but we never really see Old Man Madara doing anything with his Sharingan. He wasn't exactly in peak fighting condition, so why did they put him on number 3? Well, because of what he does during the Fourth Great Ninja War. Madara quite literally snatches Kakashi's Mangekyou Sharingan out of his eye sockets and implants it on himself in like a couple of seconds. That was Madara in 10 Tails Jinchuriki form. He then uses Kamui instantly after he implants Kakashi's Sharingan on himself and brings himself to the Kami dimension. And that's simply insane for so many reasons. First, because Madara figured out how to use Kamui at the speed of light, pretty much. He didn't even have to think, he didn't even have to do anything else, he just used Kamui as if it was a jutsu he had been using ever since he was 5. Now yes, because of Obito and even Kakashi, who he saw in the battlefield, he had an idea what Kamui did, but knowing what a jutsu does, and being able to replicate it, even if you have the means to do so, is just not the same thing, and Madara made it look easy. I mean, he also made it look easy for you to master Sage Mode when he stole Hashirama Sage Mode. He was like, oh, this is Sage Mode? It's really easy to control, bro. I don't know what the deal is. And obviously for regular people, it's extremely hard to control so much so that they die in the process. But Madara learning how to use Kamui in 0.0069 seconds is not the only impressive thing here. He's also using Kamui on himself as a 10 Tails Jinchuriki, something that Obito in his 10 Tails version was unable to do. And Obito had been using Kamui for way over a decade. The master of Kamui couldn't Kamui himself in the 10 Tails Jinchuriki form with 18 years of experience or so using the jutsu, and Madara with 0 experience. A split second after he got the Mangekyou Sharingan was Kamui himself into the Kamui dimension. And Madara also cheated and broke Kakashi's jutsu because Kakashi's Kamui was a long-distance Kamui. As far as we know, he never had the ability to use it on himself. I mean, he uses on himself to expel himself out of the Kamui dimension, but Kakashi never uses Kamui to go directly into the Kamui dimension. He only uses it to transport other things. And Madara broke that rule. Oh, maybe Kakashi was able to do that and he never does it because he just didn't want to? Like, you technically can use a long-range jutsu in a short-range target, meaning you, so I guess that's the justification here. Still, Madara does it, Kakashi's never done it. He just makes one of the most impressive things ever with Kamui, and people don't really realize that just after he stole Kakashi's Mangekyou, because it's a very impactful scene. Wait, what? Kakashi lost his Sharingan? I thought about putting him higher, but because he only uses this jutsu once, I figured it would be kind of unfair. So let's move on to number 2, Nagato Uzumaki. Madara implanted his own Rinnegan eyes into Nagato when Nagato was just a little kid, so that Nagato could eventually form the Akatsuki and revive Madara with Rinne Tensei using the Rinnegan eyes. Obviously that plan didn't exactly pan out the way Madara wanted it to, but still Nagato had the Rinnegan and he got pretty damn good at using it. He got so good, in fact, that he essentially became a god in the Naruto universe. Several people recognize him as a god. And according to Conan, Pain had never lost a fight. Well, at least up until he fights against Naruto, which he technically even beats in Sage Mode, but then the Nine Tails comes in, saves Naruto, goes back because Minato saves Naruto from the Nine Tails, and then Naruto actually beats Pain after Pain was extremely fatigued. And let's be real here, even in the beginning of the fight between Naruto and Pain, when Naruto was pressing Pain down, Pain was heavily nerfed. First because he had fought against the entire village for a prolonged period of time, therefore he wouldn't be on top of his chakra condition there, but also because he had just literally exploded the entire village and used a catastrophic Shinra Tensei, which increased the cooldown for his next Shinra Tensei quite substantially, meaning he couldn't use Shinra Tensei during the beginning of the fight. And even still, he was doing just fine against Sage Mode Naruto with all those summons. Nagato learned to use to perfection every single path of the Rinnegan, including the outer path. He learned how to create the path bodies to distribute the powers of the Rinnegan and create the Rinnegan's shared field of view to make it almost impossible for him to be caught off guard. He also had access to Chibaku Tensei, which I don't really have to tell you how powerful it is. He could summon the Geromazo and seal tail beasts inside of it as well, and use that freaking human path ethereal dragon with the Geromazo that destroyed Hanzo's entire army and almost killed Hanzo. Now, he couldn't devolve his Rinnegan back into a regular eye or even Madara's Mangekyou or regular Sharingan. He also didn't have access to Madara's other ocular jutsus like the Susanoo, Tengai Shinsei, or Limbo. You could say he only had access to the more basic Rinnegan stuff, but even that stuff is extremely powerful. Especially in the hands of an Uzumaki who has a lot of chakra and can use those abilities to no end. And number 1 is going to be Kakashi Hatake, aka the Copy Ninja, aka Kakashi of the Sharingan, the man who made his career around a doujutsu he got from somebody else. Not stolen, Obito gave the Sharingan to him, but it was somebody else's doujutsu. Ever since he got the Sharingan, Kakashi got very good at using it. First, the doujutsu was very important for him to complete his new jutsu, the Chidori. The lightning discharge made Kakashi move too fast for him to perceive counterattacks, which left him dangerously exposed, but the Sharingan compensated for that, increasing Kakashi's reaction time, and he could see through opponents' counterattacks now. He also, over the course of his career, copied over 1,000 jutsus with Obito's Sharingan. And even though Kakashi was not an Uchiha, he awakened the Mangekyou Sharingan in his sockets. Well, Obito and Kakashi awakened it at the same time because Kakashi killed Rin, or I guess Rin did it to herself by, just throwing herself at the Chidori. Anyway, still Kakashi developed something that should be impossible for an Uchiha to develop, even if you have the Sharingan for a long time. When Itachi realized what Kakashi did, having awakened the Mangekyou Sharingan in the Itachi body double fight, he was very impressed and almost shocked, like, what? Kakashi really did it? And that was not even Kakashi using the Mangekyou against Itachi, he was just implying he had the ability to. Kamui is extremely powerful, I don't have to tell you. Yes, Obito's variety is more powerful than Kakashi's, but Kakashi's long distance Kamui got him out of jail a lot of times. Well, first, it's very useful to just attack opponents from a distance, but also, it's very good for defense. You can Kamui things out of existence that are about to hit you, which Kakashi did, first when Deidara exploded that clone on his team and Team Guy, then in the Pain arc to Kamui away that nail Pain tossed at him, and then the missile that was going to hit Choji. Uses Kamui again in the 5K Summit to Kamui the Susanoo arrow Sasuke was throwing against him, and that thing is really damn fast, so Kamui has to be fast as well. And obviously Kakashi uses Kamui several times in the war arc for defense and offense. He masters that jutsu exquisitely well. And then, in the final fight of the series, Obito gives Kakashi both of his Mangekyou Sharingan from the realm of the dead. And that's when things get kinda ridiculous. Kakashi awakens a perfect Susanoo. He gains access to Obito's phasing ability, which just makes him insanely powerful. And he also gets some other Kamui related abilities, which are just insane, such as Kamui Raikiri, which is by far the strongest Chidori/Raikiri variant in the series, and Kamui Shuriken, which is essentially massive shurikens which he tosses with his perfect Susanoo, and they use Kamui whenever they hit. So yeah, Kakashi absolutely pushed the boundaries of what someone can do with somebody else's doujutsu. And he definitely deserves the number 1 spot here on this list. Watch this other video right here for more cool Naruto content. Please subscribe and ring notifications if you haven't. Those things are really damn helpful, and they let YouTube know that you want to see more of my videos. Also, like this video if you enjoyed it. Those things take like, what, 3 seconds, so please do them. And thank you so much for watching.